Hey everyone! I recently learned that you can upload longer videos to Instagram. So even though I already wrote a blog post comparing EqPI and traditional Chinese medicine's way of profiling personality, I thought I would also do a video for those of you who prefer to watch and listen versus read, because I know some of us are just not readers. So, traditional Chinese medicine, let me just give a quick summary of that. The way that they profile personality, they have 5 constitutional types, which are the 5 main profiles. And then there are certain combination types as well. Each constitutional type is tied with an element like water, fire, wood, metal, etc. So often this way of profiling personality is called the 5 elements method. If you've heard of that before. So the 5 constitutional types are heart, which is tied to the element fire, liver, which is tied to the element wood, spleen, which is tied to the element of earth, lung, which is tied to metal, kidney, which is tied to water. So those are the 5 constitutional personality types. And then the combination types are liver, lung, spleen, liver, spleen, kidney, and lung, kidney. So all in all, we have 9 total possible personality profiles according to the traditional Chinese medicine method. Whereas EqPI looks at only behavioral traits when determining personality profile, traditional Chinese medicine actually looks at a number of different things. So behavioral is one thing. They also look at a number of physical traits, which include conformation, movement, musculature, the way that they're muscled, the color of the horse's mucous membranes, their tongue characteristics, which is interesting, the quality of their heartbeat or their pulse, and how susceptible they are to illness. One thing that I really appreciate about the traditional Chinese medicine method is that when they are looking at illness, there's an acknowledgement that every illness has both a physical and a mental component. You can't separate them. So if you were to call out a TCM practitioner to come look at your lame horse, they are going to be looking at the overall environment and kind of mental needs of that horse based on their personality to see what is not being met and what can be adjusted to make sure that those personality needs, as well as physical and just ethological needs, are being met. So as far as similarities go between EqPI and TCM, the biggest similarity is just the philosophy around why it's important to understand personality. Both methods acknowledge that based on the personality, the horse has certain needs that need to be met. And if those needs are not being met, you're going to see issues. And if they are being met, you're going to have a much more engaged, happier, and therefore healthier horse. The way that the behavior is interpreted and the tips as far as how to manage horses that have those profiles are also very much aligned between the 2 models, which was validating for me, considering I had never listened to TCM before. So the biggest difference is how the profiles are determined. So like I mentioned, EqPI really just looks at the behavioral traits, whereas TCM looks at a number of different things in addition to just behavioral. One area where I think TCM has a higher risk is that there are only 9 personality profiles. And if your horse fits into those, that's great. And even if your horse mostly fits into one, you'll probably still get some good information and insight into your horse's personality. But because there's only 9 personality profiles, the 5 constitutional types and then the 4 combos types, I think there's a higher risk of a horse not fitting perfectly into one of the types. I think something that EqPI does really well is that even though it only measures 4 of the spectrums, the combinations across all the different relationships and all the different variations of where a horse can fall on those 4 spectrums allows for a lot more individuality and personalization. So you're more likely to be able to see where your horse fits in and get a more accurate read of your horse's profile. TCM, since it is a medical perspective, really puts the horse's well-being at the center of the model, which makes sense because, again, it's a medical perspective. Whereas EqPI, it's driven from my background in engagement. So it's really like, how can we work with the horse in a way that motivates it and where it feels happy and it wants to work. And there's a nice, I acknowledge that with less stress, you have less medical impact, so you're going to have a healthier horse, but that's not really the center of the model, whereas with TCM it really is about the horse's well-being. Another difference is that TCM really focuses on how to manage the horse in the current state, like in its current environment with its current trainer, current rider, etc. EqPI takes that a step further, where it offers some tips in handling and management, but EqPI seeks to offer solutions to the broader equine industry as well, as far as aptitude. When you're selling the horse, how can we make sure that we're setting the horse up for success and finding the next best match for it, etc. So anyways, that's really the gist of the comparison. If you want to check out the blog on my website, feel free to do so. I am almost done with this book, Is Your Horse a Rock Star? Which is another personality profiling method. So I will do another blog and video to compare that when I'm done. So stay tuned.